Hello everyone and welcome to the Views from the Oregon Trail. I am your host, D.L. Williams. I do hope you're ready to sit back and enjoy some stimulating commentary on the current events all going on this wacky rock we're swinging around the solar system on.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Our lead-off story today takes us to the Grand Canyon State, otherwise known as Arizona, where the Republican-controlled House and Senate of the state of Arizona have passed a piece of legislation known as the Arizona Border Invasion Act, which is expected to be vetoed by Democratic standing Governor Katie Hobbs. The Arizona Border Invasion Act was designed to, quote, protect Arizona citizens and communities from the crime and security threats associated with the current border invasion caused by the Biden administration's refusal to enforce immigration laws. Now, one of the more unique aspects of this piece of legislation, property owners will be allowed to shoot on sight any trespasser. Now, anyone who understands the concept of migrant workers, or depending on your personal verbiage, illegal immigrants crossing into the country across the southern border into Arizona, you would obviously have to trespass onto a private property owner's land, thus giving the property owner the full legal protection to shoot you on sight. No danger presented, such as the stand your ground law or anything like that. You would simply be able to shoot them where they stand. Now, some might call this extreme. Some might call this downright criminal. Some would call it an act of patriotism and an act of civil defense. I will leave that in your personal conscience to decide where you stand on that. However, I gotta be honest, I'm looking at this and, what is it? There's just something that comes to mind when I think of the idea of a property owner having the full legal right to blast a man off his property with the intent that if you shoot the first one, or maybe the second or third or the 100th, eventually word will spread. It's like I've heard this before.
Run! Tell all the other curs the law's coming! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
I told you I heard that someplace before. This brings me to the next story we're going to talk about today. This is kind of funny to me, I'll be honest. A long-awaited Pentagon report was released this past Friday on unidentified anomalous phenomenon. It stated that there is no evidence the United States has reverse-engineered alien spacecraft, and it rebutted claims that Washington has been hiding off-world technology or extraterrestrial biological material. The first volume of the investigation from the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which I didn't even know was a thing, called the Historical Record Report finally proof that the persistence that the U.S. is hiding extraterrestrial material is just proof of a culture fascinated by aliens and a community trying to prove there is secret alien technology and purporting the misidentification of common objects or other defense technology and a general mistrust in the federal government. Now, I'm not going to go on record saying that E.T. is out there. I'm not going to go on record as saying we should be standing outside waiting for Starman. And I'm not going to go on record as saying that the United States government lived up to every conspiracy theory ever dreamed up like it did in Independence Day. But I am going to say this. When an office of the United States government, especially one such as the Pentagon, is tasked with self-evaluating its own truthfulness, you have to give the citizenry a certain level of understanding when it comes to its lack of, how shall I say this? Faith that you're not just blowing sunshine up our collective tuchuses. Asking the United States government, the Pentagon in particular, to report on its own alleged dishonesty is roughly akin to asking Hannibal Lecter to give an honest interview with a culinary magazine to discuss his personal favorite entree to pair with fava beans and a nice Chianti. Alrighty then, from Hannibal Lecter to hard courts, we are just 1 week away from the beginning of March Madness, that time of year which brings the entire country together to scream, "My bracket is busted." Much like the Super Bowl, the March Madness tournament provides an opportunity for people who have no interest in college basketball to have an interest, whether it be to root for some extreme underdog or to watch some monolith powerhouse blast his way through the 64-team main tournament. Also, the obsession with brackets and trying to predict the mayhem that is the March Madness tournament almost universally results in the winner of your office pool being some person who has never watched college basketball in their life and filled in the entire grid based on the team that sounded nicest. So get your pencils ready, get your erasers ready. March Madness is just about here.
Let the games begin!
And so that brings us to our main topic of conversation today. In national politics, the presidential race is set. The primaries are pretty much wrapped up, leaving us with a presidential rematch with Donald Trump once again facing Joe Biden. This past week, President Biden had his State of the Union address. It was the latest held State of the Union in history. I'm still not entirely sure for the reason for that. Usually these types of things are held in January, early February. This was held the second week of March. During the course of the address, President Biden laid out his perceived success story and laid out plans for the continuation of his administration should he be victorious next November. Now, okay, I'm going to be honest here. Let's look at things for where they are. Every president, when they give a State of the Union address, puts the best positive spin on their track record or their future plans as they possibly can. And my friends, one of my goals at this show is to eliminate as much BS as I possibly can from the Politico world. So, we're going to play a little game today. I'm going to play a few clips from the State of the Union address, and I'm going to call this game Statement versus Facts. First off, let's review the President's statement during the State of the Union about inflation in this country.
Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world and tending lower.
So in order to understand the entirety of what the president did or did not say in that statement, inflation in the year 2022, matter of fact, it was the summer of 2022, seemed to peak out anywhere between 9.6 and 10.1%, depending on the economist you wanted to listen to. Since that time, it has slowly trended downward. The 2023 estimated numbers stand at around 3 to 4%. The president did, and so the president's numbers that he stated are accurate. However, the on-the-ground citizenry has experienced the cost of consumer goods and services increasing during the previous 3+ years of the Biden presidency, anywhere from 150 to 300+%. Those are the barometer numbers that the everyday voter is experiencing as their gauge, their measurement of inflation. It's not the static number that economists are looking at. It's the cost, the everyday written checks, the cash handed out, the swipes of your card, and just how much is getting pulled out of your bank account for the same goods and services since he took office, that the everyday people are looking at as their barometer for how inflation is progressing in this country. He made the further statement that inflation was the lowest in the world here in the United States. That is inaccurate. It is, in fact, one of the lowest in the world. However, it is not the lowest. Just for example, Canada is lower than we are at this particular time. He also made another comment that inflation was trending downward. Now, over the course of the last 3 years, yes, it has in fact been trending downward. But recent reports released for the months of January and February showed an increase in inflation anywhere from a half to 1 full point, going between 3.5 upwards of 4, creeping on 4.5% inflation since January 1st to February the 29th. That shows a uptick in the inflation rate, obviously in contradiction to what the president had to say. Next up, we'll hear what the president had to say about the insulin market. This is a subject which I have a vested interest in as a diabetic. So let's hear what the president had to say.
We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this chamber do, and in the audience. But every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they can literally stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone. It cost the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin. Packaging and all, you may get up to $13. But Big Pharma has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore. We capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare. Look, there are millions of other Americans who do not or are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes who need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35.
Okay, couple things here. The president's statement about the $35 cap on insulin for Medicare recipients, while certainly a step in the right direction, is unfortunately horrifically inadequate. At the present time, there are, by most estimates, about 38.7 million insulin-dependent diabetics in the United States of America. Of those 38.7 million, 6 million are covered by Medicare. Now, the question at hand is, how is it they were able to accomplish this cap, at least covering those 6 million Medicare recipients with a limited $35 cap on their insulin? The way they were able to do that is that Medicare, of course, is a government payer insurance. And acting in its capacity as an insurance company through its agency as Medicare, the government had the authority to negotiate that $35 cap in pricing for insulin through the pharmaceutical industry, both through pharmaceutical companies directly and through pharmacies such as CVS and Walmart and your local Walgreens, etc. The thing is, he made a statement toward the end where he said, let's get a $35 cap for all. In the private industry, or in the private sector, the government has no authority to negotiate or legislate a cap on a free market product. Private insurance companies do negotiate medication prices, and in the cases of the ones that they cannot, they simply either just don't cover or they cover minimally. I can tell you that I have employer-provided Blue Cross insurance My insurance does not cover in any way, shape, or form modern insulin. I, as a diabetic, have no choice but to either pay in excess of $700 a month for modern insulin, or I pay less than the government's touted $35 cap per vial of insulin on old-fashioned analog draw insulin, which I can purchase behind the counter from Walmart or Sam's Club for $25 a vial. That is affordable to me. Unfortunately, as any doctor will tell you, analog insulin is not remotely as effective as its modern counterpart, so I am forced through sheer economics to use a less effective medication, which is in fact a life-sustaining medication for most diabetics. And that is a reality the government has no ability to impact. The government does not have the legal right to dictate to the private sector what it can charge for virtually anything. The only thing the government has the ability to influence is commodity items such as gasoline, oil, gold, silver, milk, dairy prices. These are commodity items the government can influence through different measures and different legal means. However, it has no such power in the pharmaceutical industry. Medication is developed, marketed, and sold by large corporations generally, which are not under government control. Just like any other free market enterprise, such as restaurants or tech companies or any other free market capitalist venture. The next thing we're going to talk about is a comment from the address that was in a very similar vein as the insulin. The president lambasted the companies for selling smaller packages of product for a similar price. Let's hear what the president had to say.
In fact, the snack companies think you won't notice if they change the size of the bag and put a hell of a lot fewer, same size bag, put fewer chips in it. No, I'm not joking. It's called shrinkflation. You probably all saw that commercial on Snickers bars. You get charged the same amount, and you got about, 10% fewer Snickers in it.
Okay, so now it's my turn to lambaste somebody. The president apparently missed 10th grade economics class. You see, because a manufacturer has three options when a high inflation environment exists. Now, option one is they can increase the price of the product that they're selling. We've seen this across the board all over the place with most consumer goods. Option two is they can sell less of the product for the same price that was previously charged. Option three is they can use lower quality ingredients to create the same product in the same volume for the same price. President Biden apparently doesn't understand this concept. The manufacturers have realized that the population, from a spending and budget standpoint, has been stretched to its limit. It doesn't have much more to spend. So raising the price is out. They don't want to sell an inferior product, so using lower quality items is out. Therefore, they've had no real choice but to go with the option B or second option, which is to sell somewhat less of the product at the previous price. That way, they can still sell the product without people having to spend more money, and people aren't seeing an obvious degradation of the product that they wish or desire to purchase. I'm sorry, it's a hard thing to swallow. I don't enjoy it. I don't like getting 1.5 quarts or whatever of ice cream compared to when I used to get a half gallon. I don't like that either. But it's reality. And I understand from the standpoint of the manufacturer what they're going through. They have to produce the product at a higher price. They don't really want to charge us more, and they don't want to make a crappy product and try to sell it to you. So, what other option do they have or to market and manufacture and sell their product? I don't have a problem with it. And another thing is he has the audacity to think that he has, or that the government has some kind of authority to step in and interfere with that reality. They don't. The government has no power here. They don't have the legal standing to dictate to a company what or how it can charge or manufacture its product and market it. They don't have that right. They don't have that power, because this is a free economic country for the most part. There are some things which are regulated out of sheer necessity. Ice cream, Snicker bars, and potato chips are not in those categories. So, I know it's a tough pill to swallow, everybody. Believe me, I do. But this is the situation we're all in. And we're all in it together. You know what? Don't hold it against Snickers. Don't hold it against Lay's potato chips. It's the economy. It's the economy. It's the economy. What other way can I say it?
It's the economy, stupid.
That's just about all I'm going to have to say on the State of the Union. However, I would be criminally remiss if I didn't bring up the Republican rebuttal. Senator Britt from Alabama did her best. I don't think she was quite ready for prime time in her presentation following the State of the Union of the Republican response to it. However, I'm going to say this. Saturday Night Live pulled a real coup when they brought out Scarlett Johansson to do a cold open reenactment of Senator Britt's Republican rebuttal. I'm going to play a short clip of it because if you saw Senator Britt's presentation, you know that it was a bit off just watching it. And Scarlett Johansson's interpretation of it was nothing short of hilarious. If you haven't seen Senator Britt's rebuttal, I encourage you to go over to YouTube, check it out first, and then go ahead and give this a listen. It honestly, it cracked me up.
Good evening, America. My name is Katie Britt, and I have the honor of serving the great people of Alabama. But tonight, I'll be auditioning for the part of Scary Mom. And I'll be performing an original monologue called This Country is Hell. You see, I'm not just a senator. I'm a wife, a mother, and the craziest bitch in the Target parking lot. But y'all, Biden's the one who is destroying our country. Just ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Back in the good old days of 2020, the year that nothing bad happened? And it can be that way again. Oh my God, I guess I can sing. That's so great. But our country is not. It's like I tell my kids every night, we are steeped in the blood of patriots in a castle made of bones. Good night, kids.
Once again, Saturday Night Live proves itself the grand ascended masters of satirical political comedy. And so that brings this week's episode pretty much to a conclusion. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and commentary. Before we all go our separate ways, though, I would like to send you all off with a reminder of just who it is that we are preparing to elect president in November.
Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. Please, Russia, please. He asked Russia to go get the emails. We're going to look into his finance. I said, where did that come from? He always talked about Russia. The Attorney General says, I'm going to recuse myself. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? Russia, 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 Russia. My wife said, you never spoke to anybody from Russia, darling. I said, that's right. President Trump is waiting for the Mueller report. He's bad. He's a bad guy. But you know what I like about this? Number one, I'm in love, and you're in love. We're all in love together. We've done something that nobody's ever done.
You got the vaccination?
Yeah.
Are you okay? I mean, you seem, no, it works. Or or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're. No, I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people. If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, or, whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.
And on that note, I hope you all have a great day, a better tomorrow, and we will see each other again next week on The Views from the Oregon Trail.